Good morning. My name is Ben from Home Care Scheduler. In this video, I want to show you our app. I want to talk briefly about why it may be useful to you, show some of the basic features, and then show some of the advanced features. So home care scheduling is very complex, multiple clients in multiple different regions. It's difficult to do scheduling in those situations. But there's so many advantages to home care too. Like it's extremely convenient to clients. Therefore, I feel like it's easier to find new clients compared to a clinic. And you typically have lower commercial real estate overheads. So there's many advantages, but the disadvantage is if you don't manage the scheduling, it can be so expensive that it's not really sustainable. So in this video, I want to show you Home Care Scheduler. I want to explain how it helps businesses to improve their home care scheduling. Our system works best when it gets more complicated. So more practitioners, more locations, more complex. This is where we help. And today I'll go through some of the features that we have and how it might help you and your business. So in this demo, we're going to be showing our connection with Splose. It's a practice management software. We also have connections with Nucal and Clinico. These apps can do similar things. Splose has a few advantages with a travel component inside of its scheduling. So I'll show you those and show you how it all works. So we're going to be working on Tuesday the 19th here. We've already done this in another testing, but this is the day that we're going to be working off, Tuesday the 19th. I've created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 appointments. It doesn't really matter how you create them and how you space them. This data is pulled into our system. We then modify it and push it back. You'll see that in a sec, but this is a basic ways to how people's calendar may look. Now, inside of here, when you're creating inside of Splose, it's good to just enable provider travel. We just use a default of 0. Our system automatically updates it with the exact amount of travel you have done between those appointments, whatever order it ends up being. So at this stage, when you're creating the appointment, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, this is how it works. So you go import. Actually, the first step inside of settings is to create an integration. You go and grab an API key. You tell us which software type you're using. You enter it, and then that connection is established between Home Care Scheduler and your practice management software. Then the first step is to go import, search. This is getting 2 days worth of appointments, the 18th and the 19th. It doesn't really matter. If the appointments are already inside of the system, it will update the changes from the practice management software, which is useful if there's been any changes like an appointment deleted or something like that. It's reflected in our system. So the changes are happening in here. It'll take just a couple of minutes or a minute to connect between the systems. It doesn't really matter if you have, a lot of practitioners or a small amount. That connection has been established. Now, the first thing you'll notice is those appointments have appeared in here. And we've already done some pretty cool stuff that I think most people will be happy with, just this little part here. Because what we've done is we've imported the appointment at the time specified in the software, and then we've calculated travel between each appointment. We've also calculated a daily travel. Let's take notice of this. It's a 31 kilometer travel, 55 minutes in there. But you can see that it's not really efficient. Like this isn't a huge coverage area. Like they're relatively small, but it's just not doing it very efficiently because you're crossing back and forward across the city a lot like that. So this might be enough for people. People may want to offer a premium service where they don't optimize their routes and things like that. But then just having this information here and also the reports, which I'll show you later, can be quite useful. One thing that we can do from here is we can also each morning we can create a daily email to your practitioners. You can choose who's enabled and who's disabled, and it has all the appointments. It has the travel to those appointments and the daily total. So if there's 15 appointments, it'll calculate for each of those 15. Note we use the standard convention of the travel to the first appointment and home from the last appointment is typically considered outside of work hours. So we give that a zero value. So yeah, that's pretty cool, but it can get much better. You can go to this routes tab. You can hit create a route. Now you have two options here. This is the start time, which is calculated based on the first appointment here. You can optimize from either the first appointment, so you can choose which one is going to be the first appointment, or you can do it from a practitioner's location. If you're trying to be more convenient to the practitioner, that's a good strategy to use. You may enter an address that's close to them in the settings, which I'll show you later. But if you want to be more convenient to your business, setting it from the first appointment gives a better rate. So we press optimize, what that does, and we hit save route. So you can see that the order of these appointments has changed, and the arrival times has also changed. So the system has calculated that the most efficient way to see these people is to go down across here, around, and then finishing at this appointment. I would have suspected that it was more efficient to go this way from an eyeball perspective, but there's probably some traffic or there's some kind of complexity in here. So after you've got that, you may want to add a lunch break. Let's say that your standard practice is to add a lunch break after the third appointment. Therefore, what it's done is it's just added a 30-minute break inside of that time, and it's pushed all the subsequent appointment arrival times back 30 minutes. If somebody has to have certain criteria, you can manually drag these around inside of that route, and then that will adjust the arrival times accordingly. You can also, if you choose, you can also have a second route in a day. Let's say you wanted to do a morning and afternoon route. That's possible. I'll show you this in some of the other settings, but we do have the ability quite soon to optimize considering clients' availability. So we have a form inside of the client file, which allows you to add the availability for that client, like what day they're available and what time they're available on that day. And then when you hit optimize, the system will consider that in terms of routing. So if Claire, for example, had to be seen last or in the afternoon, that's possible. And yeah, we'll show you that shortly. These functions are getting really good. The more you accommodate the client, probably the more happy they are, and but the more inefficient your business is. So it's always a balance to work between these things, but this is what we're working on. Now, if you've if you've done those changes and you're happy with them, you make sure you hit update route. Now, remember, this is what the appointments look like here. Now what we do is we go to export, we hit new export, search. Remember, it's got a couple of days, doesn't really matter. Start export. This will happen in the background, but we'll just refresh it when it's ready. It's complete. If you come over here, you can see how it's all changed. We've automatically added the travel to for each appointment. So if you're trying to invoice travel, you can see that this light yellow area is now there. We've calculated the lunch break. Everything's all nicely back to back with only 1 minute in between. So yeah, this is a very efficient way to schedule. It's a lot faster than manually trying to do this on Google Maps. We give you the visual tools to be able to do that quite easily in here. And I think that's a really cool feature. In the report, we have a travel report. which has only got 2 days worth of data in here at the moment. But if you had many practitioners and you had a longer time frame, it will show all of those. So, for example, if you have to pay a per kilometre allowance for travel, this is possible quite easily. If you're trying to get travel totals down, it's really useful with this report because you can filter based on, or you can sort based on largest travel distances like that. So that will indicate that if you're trying to get your travel down, the highest travel per appointment is usually the place where you'll start, and then you consider is it appropriate to see Daniel on a different day or with a different practitioner or something like that. That's quite possible on this report, which is very, very useful. We also have a dashboard function which shows where everyone's going on a day and what sort of area they're in. This search practitioner search data is very useful. So you could enter a client address, you filter the radius as to how close to that you're looking to get, and you can see that everything's adjusting in real time. You choose your appointment dates. It shows the nearby practitioners. Remember, you can create a default address for each of these practitioners. So if you're trying to find someone who's appropriate to allocate a new client to, having this calculation is really useful. Also, the nearby appointments. Remember that the most efficient way to allocate a new referral is to allocate them beside a appointment that's already existing inside of that area. So you can find all the nearby appointments within a given date range. This address is a fair way away from our service radius, but if you were to choose something a bit closer, some of this data will get closer again, which is really, really useful. In settings, as I said, here's where you allocate addresses to your practitioners. And in terms of the integration, the sync settings here, we have the ability to automatically connect the system via import and export. So, for example, if you are wanting to automatically pull changes across to our app, this is possible. It does it at midnight. And to make sure that nobody is using the app at that time. Any cancelled appointments, edited appointments in your practice management software, this will be reflected back into our app automatically overnight. It is quite a useful feature to make sure everything's all up to date. Just remember that if you have unsaved changes inside of here, like if you created all these routes or whatever, and then you run an automatic import overnight, that will overwrite that data, because we consider what's in the practice management software the point of truth, and our system is a staging ground for modifications and changes. So it will overwrite in that direction. I suggest that you disable auto export until you get really confident with the features and that sort of system. We have everything is quite well tracked, so you know exactly what changes have been made. With our charging, we charge on a per created appointment basis, so you can see in this import that we separate what has been updated and what has been created. So you may not know, but in all practice management softwares, every appointment has an ID number that is in the background. If that ID number remains the same, but the changes happen, we consider that an updated appointment, which is not charged. If it's been created, so it's a new ID number, that is a charged appointment. So we charge on a per created appointment basis, if that makes sense. And this is the thing that we've been working on, which is pretty cool. So with inside of a client, you can edit a custom availability. So, for example, they may be available all day, and they may be available all day on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and they may have a limited availability here. this is we're going to modify this form a little bit, but we're trying to find something that is quite convenient and quick for people to update. I think having exact availabilities can get a little bit onerous, because you will need to do this on a large number of clients. So yeah, this is available. And what that's going to do is, if these appointments exist outside of a client's availability, there's going to be a huge red flag right beside the appointment time. That's going to indicate, and also on the travel report, that's going to indicate that something is amiss here, and to look at it. But also with the routes, we're going to, once Google has released their final Maps API, we're going to add a different type of optimizing. So this optimize button will have optimize travel window. So it will consider the availability of that client when optimizing for that appointment time. So it's a less business friendly method of optimization, because it considers when the practitioner is available at the highest level of importance, compared to reducing travel, which the current model does. But as I said, it's a give and take it's always a give and take relationship between a business and a client. How you want to do it is up to you. We're going to give you the option to do both, which I think will be quite useful. So, yeah, and I think I showed you the daily email that can happen overnight. It sends, which is quite useful, because it allows the practitioner to have a copy of their schedule in their email in case something internet related happens, and these buttons are all linkable in the final version, so you can choose what map you can run. So, as I said, this software is quite good for home care businesses. The more complicated your system is, if you're trying to do 10 plus appointments in a day, I think you'll need something like this. If you're running many practitioners and you don't want to have a scheduling team, in the past, with another app which is of similar function, we halved the amount of scheduling assistance that were required by using these sort of optimizing functions. We're going to continually, to make it more efficient, we're going to add one button press optimizing based on your default settings. So it will add lunch breaks in the right positions. It will start making things a lot quicker. And yeah, I think if you need to manage a complex schedule, if you need to get your travel overheads down, if you want to reduce some manual processes, I think this app is really useful for you, and it will help your business a lot. If you'd like a trial, please contact me at ben@homecarescheduler.com, and we will give you a login, and you can test out some of the cool features in your own system. And yeah, hope this is helpful. Thank you.